Hi everyone, it's Cindy. Welcome back to Studioloo. We are here today for Index Card a Day, I believe day 34. And I thought I would just hop into this because it is just a nice morning and I have the time to do so. So yeah, let's get into it. I thought I would harvest something from Artful Blogging. This magazine is volume 4, issue 4 from November to January of 2011. How funny that I still have like these things hanging around. This I actually bought in 2011. Like I've had it all this time. So let's just start with the first page where I feel like I would like to use something. And this is Mindy Lacefield from timsally.com. I love this owl. So that might be nice. Is there anything here? I don't think so. Oh, blogging. Remember blogging? I so wish that people still blogged. I love all those, but they don't go with my owl friend here. I was just, I watched recently, Joey DeFee made a really good video about a few different topics, but one of the topics was about this new feature that YouTube has given us that has enabled us to basically allow our channel viewers, oops, I'm too close. There we go. Our channel viewers, I don't know if it's members or if it's viewers, to be able to create their own posts on our YouTube channel. So like, you know how there's the community tab where I can make posts and, you know, you can comment on them. I can say, hey, like, you know, no video today because I'm sick, or new video today, you know, tell me what you think, or something like that. You can actually make your own post now that, you know, could be something to the effect of like, you know, hey, did anybody notice in Cindy's video that, you know, she was talking smack about something? Like, you know, whatever you want, you could post something, right? And other people could collaborate with you. Like maybe we would, you know, have a project, you know, that somebody recommended and we could all do it together or something like that, you know. So it's an interesting thought because she had asked her audience to comment on whether they would find such a feature like useful. You know, do they actually want to use it? And I ended up, you know, watching her sort of follow-up post on that, where she said, okay, you know, membership posts or whatever are not for us. Got it, right? So I like the interaction that she offered her audience in that way. Joey's very good at that to begin with. She's a very, first of all, just a lovely person. I really like Joey. I love her videos. And so I thought it's funny because, you know, by my day job, I am a product manager, and a lot of thought goes into product, obviously, in my day-to-day life about like what you're trying to do as a good product manager is you're trying to solve market problems. You try to find and solve them. And I imagine at YouTube, a product manager was in charge of this new initiative. And, you know, the way that you get to creating the right product for your audience that they're actually going to use is, you know, through a lot of different ways. Like, what we call personas, buyer personas and user personas. So who's going to buy the product, pay for it, and who's going to use it. And then also, you know, interviews with your existing customers as well as people who don't use your product. You know, talking to detractors who don't agree with your solution. Talking to kind of everybody that can engage with your solution, as well as doing competitive and market needs kind of research and that kind of thing, right? So I was thinking about this feature because when I first saw it, I sort of thought, you know, I highly doubt anyone will want to use this, because if you don't have time to leave a comment in my comments, which I often don't end up leaving comments even though I watch videos. I'm trying to get better at that though, because honestly, it's really important to the ecosystem. Like, if you enjoy my videos or your favorite creators' videos, if you can pop them a comment, even just with like a little thumbs up or a little, you know, hey, I was here, whatever, it's actually very helpful because we live in an algorithm-led kind of world now, right? Where the algorithm, it pays attention to and it promotes the content that gets the most reaction. So that's how, you know, a channel gets new viewers, like recommendations to new viewers, because YouTube isn't going to recommend to new audiences videos that get like no views or no reactions, because it's just I think, you know, they would wonder why are we going to promote something that even the people watching it don't react to. That's kind of the concept of the algorithm. So, you know, I got to thinking about it as a product manager, and that, like, I have a feeling that this particular feature would only work for YouTube's most, I'd say their most treasured people on their platform, their top 50 users who get like the millions of views, right? Because those are the people who probably have Discord channels, and, you know, they already have a very engaged audience that, like, I just gotta reach something, sorry guys. Oh yeah, come here. Paper, sorry. I don't know, I always stick this stuff back there. But yeah, like, they have a very engaged audience who are used to chatting, you know, on lives with one another and all that. And, you know, you could actually probably create that for yourself pretty easily too on YouTube. But I think that on the most part, no one is really going to want to use this. So it's an interesting situation where they've spent money on this product, but probably not a lot of folks will use it. And I think, I don't know, it just really got my mind kind of working this morning on that idea. All right, this is my snippet roll, and do I want it to completely cover this, or do I want to sort of maybe tear? I have stitched it together, so it's a little different to tear here. That off. And do we want to shorten it at all, or do we like that? I think I like that, but I'm gonna have to thicken this up a little bit. And I might also just tear both of the ends of the snippet roll. Different ways to use your snippet rolls, people. Collage with them. But it also got me thinking about just like the very drastically different way that people act now and how they use the internet. And I've been thinking about why that might be. So if we think about how we used to use the internet, like, I don't know if you guys are like me, you know, a lot of us used to have our own website. I still have a website domain that I pay for, Studioloo.com, but I've actually opted to just kind of put it on hold. I pay for the domain, but I don't pay for any domain forwarding to send it to my Etsy shop or anything. I probably should do that. I sort of, you know, calculated the costs and determined that the provider that I'm with, their cost is too high for such a function, and I haven't had time to look at a different provider. But I will do that eventually. But, like, you know, I think we used to all have our own websites, and if we didn't have our own websites, we probably engaged on some kind of a website that suited our interest. Like, maybe you were a knitter or a fiber arts person and you were on Ravelry. Do you still use it? Do you still use it in the same way? Do you still use the forums? Or maybe you were really into music and you were on MySpace and you were, you know, interacting with a lot of people there. Or maybe you were a blogger of many different, you know, themes, and you were on LiveJournal or Diaryland, or, you know, even Blogger, or, you know, you had a WordPress or something like that, right? So I think we all used to really cultivate and curate and manage and own our own spaces. And then our spaces would have some kind of a connection to other people's own spaces, either through a friends list or a subscription or, you know, some other connection. And then Facebook came along and the whole dynamic changed, right? It had all of a sudden everybody became connected with everybody. It could be people from your job or people from your school, your past. I think most people started out looking up, their high school, crushes or something and getting that out of their system. And then, it became like friends and family and then groups. And then now it's just mostly AI driven, algorithm driven content that we're fed. And so I think what's happened over all this time is that maybe we're just exhausted. Maybe we feel very overwhelmed, not just by all the content that we're served, which we didn't ask for, but we're also, we're even served it in the places like YouTube where the content we're served is the content we asked for, but we're also getting advertising, recommendations, targeted advertising that's very distracting because, as it turns out, you are interested in this, but maybe you weren't necessarily there to have to make time for additional content engagement. Like you came, you wanted to watch the latest video by one creator that you really enjoy, and then you ended up going down a wormhole or being sucked into a couple of hours of watching or something, right? And I think all those factors together, it's like it drains us. It makes us unable to kind of want to participate in the ways that we used to on forums and message boards and, stuff like that. I think it's changed our experience a lot. I don't think I want fabric. I kind of like that just as it is, to be honest. I think this one is done, my friends. But yeah, just a few words to think about today about, how you use the internet. I would love your feedback on the new feature. Had you heard about it before? Is it something that would interest you to be able to make a post on, my YouTube community where my other viewers could engage with you? It's kind of an interesting thing, right? Did YouTube build kind of a dead product, or a product that only works for, the highest paid creators that they have? Was it worthwhile to do that? Will it pay YouTube to have done that, or does it even matter because they make so much money off of their top creators anyways? But I don't know. It's an interesting product story for me and a product journey, and it also made me think about product from the perspective of, I work for a company that can't waste money on products that don't actually work. But maybe for the giants, like the Googles and the Apples and, the giants out there, like YouTube is one of those giants, owned by Google. Maybe it just simply doesn't matter. It also got me thinking about, as a product manager, the kind of jobs that you could look at in the world and say, hey, would it be fun to work for such a giant where you could waste money? Or is that even true? Would Google allow you to waste money in such a way? I think sometimes companies get to a point where they just simply don't care because they have so much money that it's not even a thing anymore. But then I also think maybe they're not like that because they do love their money, and their shareholders, obviously want to see that money going up all the time. They wouldn't accept such wastefulness, especially when they have employee budgeting to do, right? They've got to pay people. But yeah, it's an interesting thing. And I also wonder how technology and AI will change all of that. I actually, why don't I just do a little bit? I want to keep talking to you guys. I'll do a little bit of work while I'm talking. I was actually so I don't use Facebook really a whole lot. It's mostly just posts that get pushed from my Instagram. I don't use it a lot to engage, but I sometimes do. I think it's a place where I can pour out my brain from time to time. But anyways, I join a lot of groups because I think that's the only real purpose of Facebook anymore, is group engagement. And so one of the groups that I'm in is about stock tank pools, because that's actually a goal that I have. I want to build my own little stock tank pool for cold plunges and other things. So there was a post in the group this morning where somebody had what seemed to be more of not a stock tank pool, but one of those little pools that has that framing structure around it, and then the pool mesh that goes around it. And so they moved their pool to a different part of their yard, leaving behind this kind of bare crop circle, circle of just grass that had been, killed, and so it was just bare ground. And so they said, oh, what do I do about this? We moved my pool. How do I get the ungodly stench out of this area? Because first of all, they didn't know why it was happening. They didn't understand that it was the organic materials having gotten wet, and now you've got a really nice place to garden because you essentially just created some compost with all that water and bacteria and, dirt and whatnot. But they were looking to get rid of the smell. So, people were saying, oh, it's in an anaerobic environment. Over, a couple of days it'll go away. And, honestly, yeah, the sun will take care of that. Don't worry. It'll kill all that bacteria. So then one person said, I asked ChatGPT and this is what it told me. And then they pasted the entire ChatGPT diatribe down below. So then someone commented and said, can you imagine asking, ChatGPT for something that's such basic, there's such basic knowledge, right? Like, why would you need to use ChatGPT for that? Pretty soon, you're going to be asking ChatGPT how to spell your own name. And then another person wrote, ChatGPT, how do I spell my... Wait, ChatGPT, what's my name? And, there was this discourse going on. And I'm just kind of reading it all with my typical... curiosity, the human condition. And so I got to thinking about it because, I recently read this scientific, medical journal study about how ChatGPT and having the ability to use AI for things is in fact impacting our neurology, our memory. If we actually take in the information that we're given, because if you think about it, right? Imagine you're asked a question. You don't know the answer to it. So in the past, you would research it. And by researching it, you're reading, you're writing something down. You're doing whatever you need to do to actually learn that thing. It could have been to just answer someone's question, or it could be to do a work project. Like someone tells you, I need you to do a win-loss analysis, or I need you to do a business plan or a product marketing strategy. And, whether you're new to it, as a document, or even maybe to the product you're writing about, some part of you needs to learn something. That's why you've been tasked with this, because no one knows how to do it and you have some specialty. But imagine if you just kind of went, oh, okay, I can do that. And you go to ChatGPT and you say, ChatGPT, please write a business plan with an IT structure on the usefulness of internet marketing with Instagram, as an example. That's what you've been asked to do. And so, it's going to give you really a structure, because another thing people don't think about, I think, is that when you feed data into ChatGPT, the AI machine, you're actually giving it your data. So is that data yours? Is it your intellectual property, or is it your company's data? Are you using their, maybe you've got a technology spec and you're going to copy paste all the details into it and say, hey, can you write, a customer facing instruction booklet on this product? And then you put the technical document into ChatGPT and it spits out this brochure you're looking for, at least the wording for it. Well, now it also knows everything about your product. Is your product new to the market? Is it competing with another market or another company? Do you have permission from your company to throw that into ChatGPT? And if you do, okay, but does the permission you have actually protect you on paper? Because this is a challenge that I came up with this week for the management in my company, where they had one of our very smart product managers. He's planning to do a workshop on how to use AI to write business plans. And for me, I'm like, well, that's pretty easy. Why would we need a workshop on that? But the point was, my question was, do I have permission to do that? And so the manager was kind of dumbfounded, and she is not an executive level person. She's just a middle manager who this person reports to. And she's like, what do you mean permission? Yeah, that's why we're teaching the workshop. And I said, so your reason for teaching the workshop is the thought to make our jobs easier, to not spend so much time on writing the structure of a business plan. But you expect that, ChatGPT will write the structure. We'll go through it with our human brain and make it make sense. But do you have any guidelines around what type of data we're allowed to put into ChatGPT? Like, what is allowed to be public? Because this is public now. You've given everything you submit to ChatGPT. And we don't have AI policy that I'm aware of. So, you know, one of the things in my contract is about competitive information. You know, basically we all sign the equivalent of like an NDA when we have a job, that you're not allowed to communicate your employer's trade secrets, their intellectual property. You're not allowed to share that without permission. You know, your customer relationships are all on an NDA usually, if you're a large enough company to care about all that. So, you know, it kind of paused her, and she said, well, you know, okay, well, what we're trying to do here is to just, you know, help you. Like, and I think I put her in a position unintentionally. I wasn't trying to attack her at all, but I just, it was like, I probably would have liked to talk to her privately about it first, but we were in the workshop, right? We were in this space. So the cow had already left the barn. So like, I just wanted to kind of point out that like, we probably should not only think about this, but before we start actually doing it, we should get an update to our contracts or our policies to make sure that people understand what they are and they are not allowed to do. Like, you are allowed to use AI with a concept. Can you write a business plan for a payment system that, you know, interacts with hotels and restaurants? You know, you're very generic. Or are we allowed to say, you know, here's my document, all of the text from my document, which is a technical document. Can you make a user-friendly, customer-facing document for hotels and restaurants? Because those are two different things, right? So yeah, it's a lot to think and talk about. And I don't know, it's fascinating to me to see how technology and the internet are changing. I'm kind of like, my day job has me as a product person doing a lot of thinking about how things work in the market and how they change. And I think it's just weird and interesting watching all of this go on like in real time. Like, it reminds me, I guess, of, you know, like, remember when we were preparing for like the millennium, right? And people didn't know what was going to happen. Right now, I feel kind of like we do know what's going to happen, but we don't know how to stop it. It's very similar to what's going on in the world, in politics and all of that. It's like, we know, we're seeing it live streamed. We know what's going on, but we're powerless. We don't know how to stop it. The wrong people are in control in the world. You know, cruel, terrible, mean people, obsessed with money as like everything, you know. And who are we, right? How can we impact these things? And I mean, I think about a lot of people's jobs. Like, my husband and I were talking this morning, and he said, you know, I think the day of call centers is eventually going to go away completely. He's like, there's not going to be any entry-level desk jobs anymore, because they're going to replace it with AI, with chatbots, with, you know, when you call somewhere, you're going to be talking to a bot that is enabled by AI. And, you know, it's sad and it's interesting at the same time to think, you know, if we think about the experience of accessibility, and not just for people, normal, you know, people who don't have any kind of, you know, impactful, I shouldn't even use the word normal people, because I don't even know what that means really. I guess people who don't find themselves impacted on the daily by any kind of a different ability or an inability to do anything. But imagine for people who have low hearing, or low sighted people, or blind people, or, you know, whatever, right? We have assisted devices for those things, but like, on a day-to-day basis, in most situations where you're trying to do something administrative in your life, when you try to pay your taxes, when you try to, you know, make a phone call, when you try to pay for something, etc., I would say that there's no equivalent to like a push-button door that opens the door for you in those scenarios. We don't have any kind of like universal way of helping people. So, you know, my first job in technology was on a help desk. And what I would do is I would troubleshoot payment terminals. So merchants would call, they'd be having a problem. Maybe they didn't know how to settle out their transactions so that they could get paid. Or maybe they had an error message on their terminal that they didn't know how to resolve. A communication error, let's say. They didn't realize that like their phone cord at the back was crimped and it wasn't communicating or something. So basically, in the days of dial-up, what I would do is I would troubleshoot from step one. The very first thing I had to ask them was for an identification, number, which they usually couldn't find. So I'd have to both navigate in the physical space by asking them, can you look and see if there's a sticker on your computer that has a number that starts with 25? Can you give me that number? Or you don't have such a sticker? Okay, well, can you press the administration key? Now what do you see? Can you go down 2 or 3 and, with the down arrow, and you should see this. And then can you, yeah, it's step by step and basic. But the equivalent, right, in a chatbot or something run by AI is that it's going to spit out the entirety of the instructions to you. Like, have you ever tried to figure out something in your settings on your phone and your computer, and the annoying going back and forth between those screens to try to go step by step because the human brain can't memorize like 8 steps to do something? If you're not really familiar with it, like you don't really know your computer or your phone settings so innately because you use them so frequently, you're going to have to keep checking back to see, like, what do I do next, right? And that's what things are turning into. And, like, I've been having some accessibility conversations at my job. I recently met with the Canadian National Institute for the Blind, and, they told me that basically since the pandemic, accessibility largely has been lost. And, essentially things get worse for the blind when the size of devices gets smaller. And when you remove the headphone jack, that's one example, because that removes the entire privacy experience for the blind person when they're interacting with something, maybe a payment terminal, or maybe, a device that is for, like, renewing your license plates at a government kiosk, and you can't see the screen, so you need that vocal, so you need a headphone jack. So it's stuff like that I think I don't see that on the forefront of AI. I see this idea of a focus on cost savings, replacing people with machine learning, with no account really for the quality. Like I see that a lot. Every single website, service online these days, Facebook especially, like they want to be in your messenger chats, which I would caution you, please don't talk about very private things in those messenger chats, and also please don't share any private data in there, like passwords, phone numbers, results, documents, like, hey, you want to share like your blood work result with your mom. Don't do it there. Just don't, because that's all private data. Think very clearly about what you send in Messenger. Don't send your bank account info. Don't send your mortgage account number because your husband's on the phone with the mortgage people. Do it a different way. Call someone, speak to someone. Don't do it this way, because that information always, but now more than ever, is actually being databased, and it's fully accessible to people. And we see such a concerning connection right now between the tech giants at Facebook, Google, Amazon, Apple, all these places, Microsoft, Palantir, like all these pretty scary, situations. Like Spotify, they just invested and became shareholders in this terrifying AI military, American kind of stuff. And like, every day I think we see stories about this, right? Like, I won't get deeply into the political side of things, but this is much more than just politics, because politics is more than politics these days, right? It's literally in your everyday life and the everyday lives of people around the world. And, Yeah, so I don't know, it's a lot to think about, right? Like, I keep going back to feeling like the world is a good comparison with this movie called The Mitchells versus the Machines. It's on Netflix if you have Netflix, I believe. Either Netflix or Disney Plus, but I think it's Netflix. And it's just this story of like this family, you know, basically their oldest daughter is going away to school and she wants to be in technology, and then the world has this company that's, I guess, kind of a vanilla sort of generic version of Apple, and they have smart devices that they call PAL. So there's a PAL phone that they eventually build into an actual robot that's there to assist you with your chores, your tasks. And so, you know, basically the robots, they turn evil because the human who created them made them angry, and they turn evil, and you know, they just start like trying to kill everyone, and like, you know, all of this goes down. And it's like, I feel like we're in some part of that kind of a hellscape right now, where like we're doing things before we're really understanding what we're doing. And not a fan, not gonna lie. And I mean, I work in technology. I've worked in technology for a long time, and I'm supposed to be a big supporter of, like, you know, future technology trends. And I mean, I am when they make sense, but it doesn't make sense to me that we are simultaneously taking away the functionality of the world, because, sorry, humans are much better than machines at most things. You know, and then we're also like invading everybody's privacy and also taking away their jobs. Like, a lot of jobs already have been lost to AI, in case you were unaware. It's not a thing of the future. It's actually already here. It's been here for years. It's even touched the company I work for. And you wouldn't think about it, right? I think a lot of people in this community think about how it affects artists and designers. We've talked at length about that here on this channel, you know, in the AI conversations. But it's also people who work in areas like, you know, banks. Like, most banks don't have tellers anymore. They just, you know, do everything online and do everything on a kiosk, a bank machine. And that's not even AI. That's just technology. And I mean, you know, cashiers, they've lost their jobs to self-checkout. I mean, in some ways, some of it could be good because those are, you know, cashier, it's a low-end job. But it's also an entry-level job. And I think we make a mistake when we don't keep the concept of understanding that in this world, we should and we must want to support career development for all people. You need that first job to learn the ropes. You need a path with which to build yourself. You know, first of all, I think we all assume that everyone's getting a college education. I can tell you that's not the case. Not everyone has access to post-secondary, and some people don't even have access to high school graduation, okay? It's like we all have very different lives, and you know, things happen. You know, you imagine a young person who's maybe one of their parents dies when they're in high school and they have to drop out because, you know, their one surviving parent has to work all the time because of this death in the family. So now that family needs to be enabled by a second person to help them to keep everything afloat. You know, to take care of the kids when they get home from school for a couple of hours before that parent gets home. You know, there's a lot of situations like that. There's families who literally just, they don't have the ability to send their kids to college. You know, I'm no stranger to that. And I think when we don't provide the opportunities for those jobs, that like we're failing as a society. And absolutely do not support corporations that make millions of dollars, you know, in saying, well, it's more cost effective to do things this way. All that means is that their shareholders are just going to, instead of being millionaires, they're going to become billionaires. That's really all that means. It doesn't help you in any way. It doesn't it doesn't bring the cost of anything down for you. They're not going to do that. Like, and that I think is a big thing, is there's this assumption I think a lot of people have that if we allow a company to save money, then they're going to charge us less for the products that they sell. Like, let's make things easier for Netflix so that our Netflix, you know, doesn't go up by $10 in a year. Well, guess what? It's still going to go up. They don't care. It's not about the cost of the staffing. It's about every year they make a certain amount of money. Then the next year they up their projections by at least 20%, usually much higher. They say this year we made 20 million. Next year we want to make 35 million. How can we get there? And then they get on this mission. Like, what's the reason they need 35 million? What are they doing to require that money? Do they have some big reason? No, they just want more money. And that's how the rich get and stay rich, right? And I think we just need to think about all of this as we embark on the support of AI. Definitely at our jobs, you know, definitely in your brain. Remember, if you went to school and you got like a business degree or a marketing degree or any education, you paid a lot for that. Don't let your brain, you know, essentially atrophy and all that education go down the tubes because you don't apply it, you don't use it. And I say that the most strongly, I think, to young people, because you've just gotten this education. You just graduated university, or maybe you're still there, and like, you're the fresh blood that companies want. We want to see you come in with your bright ideas from all this modern education and all of this, like, in the market, new market kind of exposure you have. You're so valuable as you are. Don't let the use of AI ruin that. Like, maybe AI is a part of what you do. I know that AI has become literally a new venue in the technology market, but like, don't let it become who you are. Like, remember that it's your human brain, like, that built AI to begin with, and it's human brains who contribute to it. It's just honestly a collection of all of our brains, but some part of it is still faulty and will always be faulty. And that's the strength of, like, you know, an educated human being, right? And yeah, I don't know. I find the more I go through life doing anything with technology, it all kind of ties together. Yeah, like, it's like I started talking about this new YouTube ability to make a post on my channel, and here we go talking about, like, you know, the future of, like, machine learning and AI. But it's all very interconnected. So with that, I will conclude our icad day and my big spiel, and I hope you have a lovely day. I'll talk to you soon. Let me know your thoughts in the comments. I'd love to hear from you. Bye for now.